I am now.
Well, now it's going to be a lukewarm open.
Whoa.
So how you been? I've been a little, like, I asked you because I wanted to tell you how I felt. So I didn't even let you answer. How you doing? Don't care. I got to talk. I've been tired. We've talked about this the last few times, but like, I'm ready for spring. I'm ready for some sun.
Yes.
Like, we got a little bit of that this week.
I'm ready for the temperature to be like above, like, okay, so usually the way it goes is, temperatures climb to like the 50s, and I'm like, all right, this is good. I'm good with this. And then they get to like the 60s. I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I haven't seen the temperature over 66 in weeks.
Yeah, I think it got the mid 60s here again, like a week or two ago. Got up to like 85.
And even when it is warm, even if I think there were a couple days where the temperature was above 70, and even then, like, the wind was 400 miles an hour.
Yeah. Well, it was nice. Like a day or two ago, it got like to 60-ish, 65. So the house was like a cool, like, not cool. It was like kind of a 72. But I put the fan in my window.
I'm depressed because now we're just sitting here talking about the weather. Now I feel like an old person.
I know. Well, that's what I was just going to go to is next. Man, I feel old. When this comes out, you're already turned 40.
I hate you.
Yeah.
I hate you so much.
Yeah, we've turned into our fathers, Richard. We started this podcast, young boys.
We don't even need to do a podcast anymore. We just need to like find a porch to just sit on.
Oh my God, doesn't that sound nice?
Fucking whittle wood and suck on Werther's Originals that'll just magically appear in our pocket because we're old people now.
Get rocking chairs, just sit there and rock and talk about how good times were 20 years ago.
Back in my day, you had to use the phone to use the internet.
We could only look at one picture every 15 minutes. You had to be resourceful in our day.
I hate this whole conversation.
I know.
Now I'm sad. I don't want to do a show anymore. I'm sad now.
Don't be sad. Is it just hitting you now that you're getting older? Like, have you felt old for a while? Because you're 4 years older than me. Like, you should feel older than I do. I feel like you're a younger spirit than me.
Do I feel? Are you asking me? Do I feel like an old person? No,
yeah,
no.
I have lately,
but then then you got to go into like those philosophical questions, like, do old people feel like old people?
I don't know.
I feel like old people, they might like bitch about being old if they have to like pick something up off the floor,
or
like reach down to grab a plate. But I think that's more just like raging against the fact that your body is shutting down.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because at some point, like, it's hard to like right now, like sometimes I get up and my knee hurts. Like my foot's been hurting lately too. Like I'll step wrong on the side and I get like a sharp pain. And it's like that's annoying. Like, can you imagine like where you're sitting on the couch and you're like, man, I gotta go to the bathroom. And it takes you like 40 minutes to get up and go to the bathroom. And then 40 minutes to go to the bathroom. Like, you think about those people that get into like their 90s and 100, and like each day you wake up and you're like, well, I'm still alive.
I can't imagine being like 90 years old.
Isn't it like it's
like that just seems insane to me.
Well, what's insane to me, like, we're gonna get really sad because, like, you'll like. I remember,
and if I was an old person, like, if I was an older person, like, let's say today, if it was today, and I was 90 years old, and I was born in 1932, is that right? Yeah. If I was born in like 1932, I would be so mad.
Oh,
like
just seeing
and like nothing that was promised has been delivered.
It's like, you know what we fought? Communists. What do these kids fight?
No, it's not even that. Like flying cars.
Oh yeah.
Fucking dinner in pill form.
True. Yeah, the Jetsons lied to them. They would watch that show with their kids and like, oh,
I'd be so mad.
If I live to be 90 and all you get is superhero movies. You don't even like superhero movies because you're a John Wayne fan.
Like floating hover chairs.
Floating cities.
None of it. Got none of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just sit and think.
In some cases, shit's going backwards. I'd be angry. If I was 90 years old, I'd just be angry all the time.
Not only does your body hurt, but nothing you wanted came true.
Yeah. No, not even nothing I wanted. Everything I was promised. Everything I was promised.
Who promised?
They were like, hey,
flying cars. Was it Mr. Stark? Tony Stark's dad?
The world. The world promised me flying cars. I watched cartoons and movies where there were flying cars, and they were like, hey, you're going to get it. And I never got it. I'd be mad. I'd be so mad.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you'd be mad just because, like, your generation, it's like, hey, you want to hang out and read the paper? And now you don't even have to, like, you can, like, back then it's like, I'm going to write a letter to my aunt in Ohio. And now you can be like, oh, I'm going to FaceTime my aunt every night.
I mean, cool, I guess. But what would be even better if it's like, hey, I'm going to go jump in my teleporter and visit my aunt.
That's true. But then you have to worry, like they say with teleporters, like the only way for it to work is you'd have to be like destroyed and reconstructed on the other side. Yeah. So then is it really you fine. On the other side?
Whatever. I don't care. I watched The Fly.
What if it creates a new soul on the other side?
Jeff Goldblum did it. He turned out okay-ish.
Wasn't he like, kill me? Kill me? Yeah. Yeah, I just look at like
flying cars, teleportation, dinner, meals in pill form where you're just like, oh, I'm going to have dinner. Boop. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Like that's the thing I want. It was all
supposed to be free.
I want like the pill you can take and like it's like your exact calorie amount and you're full. You don't feel like you have to snack. Like we'd all look like Jason Momoa.
Someone did the math with the Jetsons, and like according to that, George Jetson only worked like 4 hours a week, like 4 or 5 hours a week.
Well, how much did Fred Flintstone work?
He was able to afford like a 3-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, but how much did Fred Flintstone work? I don't think he worked much either.
I don't know. Probably maybe the same.
Yeah. I mean,
so you're saying that we've gone backwards?
No, I'm just saying
worse
like
off than fucking Fred Flintstone.
I'm just saying
Why
like
can't I work 4 hours a week and afford a 3-bedroom apartment?
I'm just saying
fine with that.
I would be too, but I don't think cartoons are realistic in terms of work-life balance and.
That's another thing that I was promised that has not been delivered to me in my time on this earth.
Goddamn Hanna-Barbera. That's who we blame.
I'm not blaming him. I blame society for not living up to the dream that Hanna-Barbera had dreamed for us.
Yeah, instead of going for Hanna-Barbera, they went towards Disney. And Disney was like, hey, guess what? We're going to kiss women without permission. Yeah. Sleeping Beauty, looking at you. We make fun of little people. Did that. What else did they do? We're going to kill everybody's parents.
Everybody's parents.
Yeah.
I mean,
what you could do is you could always like steal money.
Good. Oh, we should start a show.
That's my segue.
That was a great segue. That was a great segue, and I blew it. You know why I blew it? Because I'm old and bitter.
I saw you looking at me. You're like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. I'm so confused. Let's do a show.
You yelled, turn down that music. And they're like, Dad, my headphones are in.
Damn kids. Mm-hmm. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we're speaking the language of bromance. Shawn, despite your best efforts to segue me into starting a show, because you're like, this old bastard has been cold opening for the last 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, it's time to get Grandpa into the home. Well, let me tell you another story about you want a Werther's while I tell this story.
I was thinking the other day about I don't want to say I was thinking about robbing banks, but I kind of was. Oh, and the reason I say that is because you don't really hear about people robbing banks anymore. I don't hear about anybody robbing a bank anymore. Why is that?
Well, it's funny that you're talking about that.
I never see that like in the news. Is that because banks don't have money? Is it because we all have cards now?
Yeah. Well, like you say that's what, like you were thinking about robbery. Like I've been going down a serial killer like rabbit hole lately.
Really?
A little bit, just out of curiosity, because there was that story that I told about Halloween about like some kind of weird thing that happened like 4 or 5 hours from me, where like a dude had like this girl in like a freezer, and he's been doing it for a while. And so like I check in on that story to be like, what's going on with that? And haven't seen anything. And YouTube's algorithm's like, oh, I see you like serial killers. And then I get an email from an FBI agent. But it's kind of the same thing with like that. They said that like serial killers, it's not as notorious. Although they say there's like 50 serial killers like active at one time, like during any one time. And they basically said that like what...
I mean, if you go by the definition when it comes to serial killer, though, is like somebody that kills someone and then has like a cooling off period and then kills someone else. So 2 people does a serial killer make?
The video I watched, they said 3 people within a 6-month like time frame.
I don't know. See, because like that seems more like the mass murderer kind of thing.
Yeah. I think yours is like, I don't know if 2 would qualify. I think a 3rd is like your trend.
Yeah.
I mean, 2, it's definitely like, I'm not saying like, well, I mean, they're not that bad.
So you're saying I'm 2 away? Wait, what?
Wait, I thought there was that one on the way. I was like, hey, Richard, why are you going over there with that guy? You're married. You're like, no worries.
I haven't had my cooling off period yet.
Where's I going with that? There's 50 active at one time. Oh, they were kind of saying like the reason you don't hear about like as much of it is because with technology and everything, like they're catching people quicker. So I think they're catching a lot of people who would probably be serial killers, but they catch them early enough that they've only done like 1 or 2. So they don't have like the Ted Bundy or, John Wayne Gacy where it's like, oh my God, he's got 50 people under his house.
Yeah.
Andy
What does that have to do? Wait, what does this have to do with bank robberies?
You said you were looking into it, and I was looking into that. Oh, to tie into what you're saying is I think it's kind of the same thing. Banks don't have as much cash anymore, and I think now it's a lot more difficult because like every bank has cameras. Like to get away with a bank robbery, I think is pretty difficult. Like it takes some work. And
so you're saying we missed the bank robbery window?
Oh, I mean during
we missed the window where robbing a bank was actually like not a terrible idea.
Well, like post Civil War, like the 1880s, like banks were getting robbed like multiple times a day. I think there was like a bank robbery like every like multiples a day. I don't remember the exact number, but it was just because of that. And back then too, like there's no tracing the money. Like right now, like if you robbed a bank and got 40 grand, because that's probably all the cash they have in there, like it's a federal offense. Sad.
You'd have to rob like a big bank.
Yeah. Well, you probably
it's not considered a federal offense, I think, until you cross state lines.
Interesting. Or if you fire, well, no, that'd still be state, wouldn't it? Either way, they're going to send you to a prison that's not that much fun.
That's true.
I think it's like there was some movie where they robbed the treasury, and it seemed like that was the way to do it because that's where all the bills went to get like destroyed.
Are you talking about Die Hard? There was a Die Hard where they did that.
No, it wasn't Die Hard. It was what movie was that? It was a newer one.
Some of these robberies have been made into movies. However, I don't know what the movies themselves are called. I'll have to kind of dig a little bit for it.
Gotcha.
But I found, so this is a list. This is the 10 biggest bank robberies in the world in history. The 10 largest. Okay.
All right. I'm getting dollars to today's dollars. So when you tell me like this bank robbery happened in 1995 and it was $10 billion, I'll tell you what it is in today's dollars.
You're pretty good. Number 10 happened in 1997.
Ooh, just missed it.
And was 18.9 million.
Oof. So that would be 18.9.
18.9.
That would be just under 34 million today.
This is the Dunbar armored robbery. It is the largest cash robbery to have occurred in the United States.
Oh, wow.
September 12th. What?
I guess I was trying to say, like, you think about how much cash that would be. It'd probably be a lot, but I think they've shown, like whenever they do the suitcase of, like, $10,000, like, when they do, like, what $10,000 actually looks like it's not that much. It's, like, 2 rolls of, like, hundreds or something.
Yeah. Yeah. This was 6 men that robbed the Dunbar Armored Facility in downtown Los Angeles.
Oh, man, is this what the new ambulance is about?
The new ambulance?
There's a movie called Ambulance. Takes place in L.A. It's by Michael Bay.
I'm sure that's exactly what it's about. And then the armored car turns into a robot.
Yeah. And somebody's like, Bumblebee, no!
The robbery was masterminded by Alan Pace III. He worked for Dunbar as a regional safety inspector. While he was on the job, he had time to photograph and examine the armored car depot and recruited 5 of his childhood friends, providing them with detailed floor plans, camera locations, ski masks, pistols, a shotgun, and radio headsets.
Now, like,
the day before the robbery, he was fired for tampering with company vehicles.
Oh, so then he's like, I was kind of on the fence, but since Bob fired me, I'm fucking robbing this place. Could you imagine being at a picnic with him? And, like, he's like, hey, like, come over here, guys. I want to talk to you. And, like, all 5 guys are like, wait, is he going to try and talk us into, like, swapping? Is this a wife swap party? It's like, all right, guys, I want to get your opinion on something. Oh, we're in.
I knew I left my keys by the door. I thought
there was a
bowl.
bowl.
It was just, so that way we didn't drive home drunk.
And they all get excited. We're in. He's like, sweet. We're going to rob a bank. Like, wait, what? Like, that's what you call it? No. Well, we already said yes.
So these 6 guys went into the armored car depot on a Friday night at like 12:30 a.m. They subdued the 2 guards with duct tape and did not fire a single shot. They loaded $18.9 million into a waiting U-Haul truck. And Pace knew exactly which bags contained the highest denominations and non-sequential bills.
Oh, interesting.
He also knew where the recording devices were located. And then, so they went to a house party and then they all left, did the robbery, then went back to the house party.
Ah, alibi. Smart.
Alibi. Let's see. I'm kind of speed reading because, like, I mean, you could do a bunch on each of these alone. But,
yeah. I guess, did they end up getting caught?
So he enlisted the help of his lawyer, of a lawyer, and an office manager at the law firm. Paid them each $1 million to help launder their money. So they didn't spend anything for like 6 months. And then started laundering the money. And so they actually were buying property, investing in companies, writing checks, and W-2 tax forms to give the impression that they were earning wages. Pace also created his own front companies to launder more money. So they enlisted somebody else to help buy property so they would not be listed under his name. 2 years after, they still hadn't been caught. The only reason they got caught, Sean, is because one of the guys handed a real estate broker a stack of cash and the stack of cash was bound together with the original currency stamp. That's it.
Yeah. It's always stupid move. Like, that seems like that's a lot of work, really smart. Like, you're paying taxes on that money you stole, which is the big thing. That's the main thing the government wants to care about. Because at some point, they probably wrote that money off. It's like, we're never getting that back.
Yeah, because this was 2 years after the fact.
Yeah. I wonder what happens. I guess all those properties get seized, but does that money go back to the bank? Does the bank technically get to own all that, or?
That I don't know. I would think it'd be like a civil forfeiture or whatever.
And the government takes possession of it?
I would think.
And the bank's like, well, that was...
they insure, because they're the ones that insure the money.
Oh, yeah. So the bank probably got their money from the money back from the government or something.
Yeah. So that's 18.9 million. We're only at number 10.
Oh, dang.
That's number 10.
All right, hit me with the next one.
Number 9 is the United California Bank Heist. I kind of have stuff pulled up on each, but okay. Took place on March 24th, 1972, when the safe deposit vault at the United California Bank was broken into and $58 million in cash and valuables. That's $58 million in today's dollars.
Oh, okay.
It was $9 million in 72.
Oh, so they're doing the work for us. Yeah, so that's about 26 million more than the previous one.
Let's see. Amil Dinzio is the mastermind of this robbery. His accomplices were his brother James, his nephew Harry and Ronald Barber, his brother-in-law Charles Mulligan, alarm expert Phil Christopher, and a man named Charles Brockle.
Those all sound like fake names.
I know, right? They all hailed from Youngstown, Ohio, and Christopher and Brockett were from Cleveland.
That rocks.
James was an explosives expert and a designer fabricator of burglary tools. His brother was the driver and lookout man. The inclusion of Phil Christopher and Charles Brockle was forced upon Dinzio by the person who clued him in on the score. Brockle was brought along as muscle only. He had no skills needed to assist in any other way with the robbery and was nothing more than a petty thief. He helped inside the vault to bust open the safe deposit boxes, and Christopher played a key role in disarming the alarm. The total stolen was $9 million. The gang blasted a hole in the roof of the vault with dynamite.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be one of the last times dynamite was used for a robbery, though. Like, that's old Western, like, early 30s kind of thing.
You know, I gotta say, I've kind of skimmed through some of these, and it seems like when it comes to if they're breaking into a bank that has like a vault, it seems like nobody goes through the door. Like, nobody tries to break open the door or crack the safe or do anything like that. It seems easier, I guess, or it seems like the MO is to basically like blow a hole in like another side of it.
Well, it's probably like back then, all that stuff was like enclosed. So it wasn't really necessarily easy to get to, but it's all the facade of like, oh, you can't get through that because that's a 42-inch thick door. Then the walls are just 2.5 inches thick.
Yeah. Or in this case, the roof. It was reinforced concrete, but they used dynamite and blew a hole through the top. Earl Dawson, who assisted the police and testified against the gang, was offered money by his brother to influence his testimony. Earl Dawson was placed in witness protection, as was Charles Brockle, who testified against his co-conspirators in exchange for immunity. So the guy that got brought along just 'cause, he's the one that ratted everybody out.
That's usually what it is. You bring him on for a fall guy, and he's the one that turns against you. That's the oldest trick in the book too. They
Sad.
split you up, so they got you in one room and the other guy in the other room. It's like, hey, the other guy's going to talk. Like, we'll give you immunity if you talk.
And they just wait. And I hate it. Damn cops.
I know, right? It's like, listen, I just want to rob a bank. Why are you trying to throw me in
pig.
jail?
You jerk. I'll never talk coppers. The next one, which I like, this one seems kind of genius to me, is the 1976 British Bank of the Middle East. Let's see. Looked at that. This was in Beirut, Lebanon, 1976. And the amount stolen is anywhere from $20 to $50 million.
Oh, so they don't know?
They're not sure. Yeah, exactly, right? So the thing that I found interesting with this, and the thing that like seems so genius to me about this. So 1976, Beirut, Lebanon was not a happy and peaceful place. So Lebanon was in the midst of a civil war, and a group of soldiers decided to cash in on the confusion. In one of the most brazen robberies of all time, the group used explosives to burst through the wall of a Catholic church and enter the neighboring British Bank of the Middle East. So since there was a civil war going on, things like gunfire, explosions were fairly common sounds to be heard through the city.
Yeah. So nobody'd think anything of it if there was a smaller explosion, because it'd be muffled a little bit probably.
Nobody thinks twice about it. In fact, even the bank itself, the bank was still operational, albeit on an ad hoc basis.
Like, don't you have to think how lucky we are that we don't have, like, we haven't lived through a situation like that?
I know, right?
Like,
I think about that constantly.
I think
I've never experienced like gunfire whizzing past my head.
Yeah, or the fear that there's going to be a rocket.
Explosions being heard in the distance and not freaking out about it.
Yeah, like we were walking out the other day and we just heard a tree fall in our woods and my wife freaked out. And that was just a tree. It wasn't explosions. Kids these days don't know how good they've got it, Richard.
God damn it.
Look,
so they blasted a hole through the vault's wall, and under the cover of continuous shell blasts and chaos in the city, the force was able to, this group of guys were able to load up 3 trucks with mostly gold bullion plus cash dollars and a variety of shares, bonds, and stock certificates. Yeah.
I wonder how the stocks works. Like, you have a stock that I guess is owned by somebody, but because back then it was just on a piece of paper. Like, oh, my stock now. I own 1 stock of Apple. That's not worth anything.
Well, you also got to think, like, how do you keep, like, how did it get kept track of? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like if you looked at a lot of different kind of like conflicts like that, I bet you see a lot of that stuff. Or like big wealth transfers that happen suddenly and for no absolute reason. Well, I'm just thinking like people that are in the conflict, like being like, well, we're here. Nobody's looking over there. We have these skills. And all of a sudden you're mailing back a bunch of teddy bears that are hand sewn back together.
None of the loot was recovered and no arrests were made.
Like, at what point do you feel like, would you ever feel like you got away with it though? Or would you feel like you'd always be kind of looking over your shoulder?
What? Like, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if I ever would. I mean, I guess, I think eventually you would get to a point, like, let's say, we're talking, let's say 20 years go by. And they're like, oh, we caught you. And they're like, okay, well, I'm 60 and I'm going to go to prison for what? You're going to sentence me for what? 20 years?
Yeah, I guess what is the prison? Because I bet you probably in some of those situations, I bet you could take a plea deal.
Well, in the case, okay, so back in the case of the armored car robbery, the 6 guys that robbed the armored car, the lead guy got 20 years, and that was in 97.
Isn't it?
So I think his parole date was like October of 2020.
Isn't it like kind of crazy? Some of the 20 years seems
so
like
he probably got out and he's like, free man, 2020 is gonna be my year.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about like just 20 years for something like that. But like you look at
I mean, honestly, I'm okay with it because, like, okay, so you're sentenced to prison for 20 years for committing what is essentially, I don't want to say a victimless crime because obviously that's not always the case. But in this case, you know, he had 2 guards that he put some duct tape on. And other than that, nobody was injured.
Yeah.
Wasn't a single shot fired.
Yeah, 20 years seems, I mean, especially if that's the only one they got him on. But I bring this up because, so like 20 years, like, seems like a lot, like probably about right. Hulu has this show. Did you ever watch back in the early 90s, the TV show, I Know My First Name is Steven?
No.
Do you know what it is?
Was this the the thing where the kid that like got kidnapped?
Yeah. My mom made me watch that.
My wife explained the whole thing to me. She watched it, and she explained the whole thing to me.
My mom
I know what you're talking about, but I know it secondhand.
Yeah, my mom made me. Well, I don't think she made me watch it, but she watched it while I was in the room, like probably at too young of an age. Where I'm like, that's why I don't like to hug, because I'm like that. I don't want to get kidnapped by a weird dude and his kind of slower friend. So they're coming out with a Hulu movie or Hulu like documentary on it or whatever. And so I was like, oh shit, like it just brought back, like, I remember watching that movie. Like I remember the kid passed away and I was watched the trailer. So I started looking. The guy who kidnapped him had kidnapped another boy. Then that's what ended up.
Yeah.
Like, the Steven kid's like, hey, I don't want what happened to me to happen to this kid. So he ended up leaving.
Sure.
The dude that did that got less than 6 years.
Yeah. That seems dumb. That seems dumb.
Like to me, that's like
if
that.
You walk in and you rob $20 million, and the worst thing that happened to somebody was basically, you tape somebody's hands together for a few hours.
Yeah. No, I think like that's like 10 to 15 years. Like the other dude that kidnapped the kids and did things to them, like that's capital punishment. Like that, because when he got out, Richard, the guy that did the kidnapping, he was in a home.
Yeah.
And he asked one of the nurses to go find him a kid to bring to him. It was going to give her like $200.
How much?
200. This was in like the late, like something. Yeah. And that dude got to live till he was like 80.
Yeah. Sometimes justice is blind and sometimes it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even, nope. I'm not going, nope. Moving on. I'm not going. The Northern Bank robbery. This is in 2004, and this was $41 million.
And that's in today's money?
I believe it's in 2004 money. The week before Christmas, 2004, robbers in Belfast, Northern Ireland, dressed as police officers and entered the homes of 2 bank managers. Families were held hostage, and the managers were instructed to go to work as normal the next day. When the workday ended, the managers let the thieves into the bank, where they stole 26.5 million British pounds and additional foreign currencies in the biggest bank robbery in Irish history. The case is still unsolved, and so far only one person has been arrested for money laundering.
Also, it's not even a guy who was involved with it. Well,
I believe so, yeah.
Like, that's scary, too, because, like, they pull him in. It's like, we're going to give you 10 years unless you talk. It's like, do you know what they did? They kidnapped the people's family. Like, I'm not talking.
Ted Cunningham was forced to resign as chairman of the bank, which, okay.
You should have let your family die.
Having taken police service in Northern Ireland. The robbery adversely affected the Northern Ireland peace process. It caused a hardening of relationships between the North and South.
Was that not settled by then? Was that still going pretty hard?
Yeah, it wasn't settled till it wasn't settled till I think like a couple of years later.
Okay.
Nobody has ever been held directly responsible for the robbery. A sum of $2.3 million was impounded at the house of a financial advisor whose name was Ted Cunningham. Oh, the chairman of the bank resigned because he was the director of one of Cunningham's companies.
Oh.
Cunningham was convicted in 2009 of money laundering. He had his conviction quashed in 2012 and was convicted at retrial in 2014. Chris Ward, one of the bank officials threatened by the gang, was himself arrested in 2005 and charged with robbery. The prosecution then offered no evidence at trial and he was released. That's crazy. The two employees were compelled to open up the bank vaults by threat. The vans made 2 runs to take away the loot at 11 o'clock in the morning. So the families were kidnapped and then they were dropped off in the middle of the woods after the robbery.
Oh, like Hansel and Gretel.
Yep. And so far, nobody's been held officially responsible for it.
So of the 3 you've read so far, only one have been actually?
Has had people actually caught? Yeah. Well, 1, 2. No, 2 out of the 3. 2 out of the 4. 2 out of the last 4.
Yeah, well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
God damn it. I hate you so much. Let's see. Where are we at? Number 6. The Brinks Mat burglary. This occurred at Heathrow International Trading Estate in London. 26 million pounds, equivalent to 89.7 million in today's British pounds, worth of gold bullion, diamonds, and cash was stolen from a warehouse.
Like, I wonder, like,
this is in 1983.
Like, diamonds and stuff, like, stealing that, like, I feel like, how do you, like, even today, like, if you have, like, a diamond worth, like, let's say $100,000, where are you going to go to sell that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, you can't just go into a pawn shop.
I guess my thinking on that is that if you're smart enough to figure out how to rob a place and get a diamond like that, I would think that you would also know how to make money off of it.
Maybe. I could see it being like a hot potato situation.
If you're going into a robbery and you're saying and you know that you obviously know what's going to be there that you're going to take, and it's probably, and in most cases, like, it seems like in most cases that robbers go for, things like gold bullion and jewelry, because it's a lot harder to trace that stuff than it is cash. So if you know that you're going to be stealing a bunch of gold, like, $4, $12, $18, $85 million of gold, you're like, maybe I should make sure that I'm going to sell this and not go to prison.
Yeah, I guess you could melt it down and just wait, like you said on the other thing, and hold on to it for a minute.
Yeah. 6 robbers broke into the Brinksmat warehouse of the Heathrow Airport. It was described as the crime of the century. The gang gained entry to the warehouse from security guard Anthony Black, who was in on the robbery. Once inside, the robbers thought they were going to steal $3.2 million in cash, but they found 3 long tons of gold bullion and stole $26 million worth of gold, diamonds, and cash. So they thought they were like, oh, we'll just get this money and then we'll go. And then they open the door and they're like, holy shit, we're going to need a bigger boat.
Well, I feel like that's the part where you grab a bag thing like, oh my God, we just got $100,000. And that's where that like $1 million hope diamond is. And you're like, oh, we made a mistake.
2 days after the robbery, a couple saw a white-hot crucible operating in a garden hut at a neighbor's property. So what a crucible is that's basically what you use to like melt down, metal and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Suspecting it to be linked to the bullion robbery, they immediately informed the police. The police arrived and were shown in the hut, but they said it was just beyond their jurisdiction and stated that they would pass the information on to the police responsible for that area. The couple were never asked to give a statement to police or give evidence in court. No explanation has been given for the failure to immediately follow up on the tip-off. 14 months later, the premises were raided and a furnace was found. The occupier was a local jeweler and bullion dealer. He was arrested. Palmer said he was unaware the gold was linked to the robbery, and he was cleared of all charges. So 2 days after the robbery, this guy's like melting down this gold.
Nice.
And the police show up and they're like, hey, what you doing there? He's like, oh, I'm just melting down some gold. And the police are like, all right, well, carry on. Let us know if you find anything suspicious.
Just so you know, there's been a robbery of about $1 million worth of gold. If anybody comes trying to get it melted, let us know. Yeah, sure thing. Where'd you get this gold? Oh, it's mine.
14 months later, this guy's raided and arrested.
There's an officer sitting at a chair saying, man, I wish we'd catch a break. Maybe we should go talk back to that guy that was melting all that gold a couple days. Oh, son of a bitch!
Who told you about it? I don't remember. Some dude. What was his name? I don't know. I didn't write it down.
Wait, you wrote it down here. Smelter McSmelterface.
One of the robbers, Brian Robinson, was caught after security guard insider Black, who was his brother-in-law, passed his name to investigating officers. The police quickly discovered the family connection, and Black confessed to aiding and abetting the raiders, providing them with a key to the main tour and giving them details of security measures. Mickey McAvoy had entrusted part of his share to associates Brian Perry and George Francis. One of the robbers melted down the bullion and recast it for sale, mixing in copper coins to disguise the source. However, the sudden movement of large amounts of money through a Bristol bank came to the notice of the Bank of England, which informed police. Yep, so they all got caught. So there's one. There's a group of guys that got caught. The Banco Central burglary was in Brazil, and this was 160 million of whatever Brazil's currency is. Oh, 71.6 million in 2005 US dollars.
Man, sounds like a Brazilian wax job, if you know what I mean.
A gang of burglars tunneled into a bank and removed 5 containers of real notes. The money was uninsured, and a bank spokesperson stated that the risks were too small to justify the insurance premiums. Oh, that's not good.
Uh-oh.
The burglars managed to evade or disable the bank's internal alarms and sensors, and the burglary remained undiscovered until the bank opened for business the following Monday. The money in the vault was was scheduled to be examined to decide whether it should be recirculated or destroyed. The bills were not numbered sequentially, making them almost impossible to trace. So this was money this was like old money that had got sent to the bank to be evaluated as to whether it was like good to be recirculated or just burned.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, there's that movie I was talking about. That's what they've got, where they go to like the Federal Reserve or whatever, and they're taking money there to destroy. So it's kind of the same thing where it's not going to exist. So them taking it, there's like going to be no trace of it.
3 months before the burglary, the criminals rented a commercial property in the center of the city and tunneled 256 feet beneath 2 city blocks to a position beneath the bank. The gang renovated the property and put up a sign indicated it was a landscaping company selling both natural and artificial grass as well as plants. So they legit like had a business going, but the entire business was a front. They were the only reason they had it was so they could dig this tunnel into a bank.
Oh yeah, I like that idea. It's like you've got a big. I think didn't they have like a drug group was doing that? Like they had a place over in Mexico, and they had like like they were tunneling underneath. Like they had a Taco Bell or something. They're tunneling underneath to like a something similar. Yeah,
that sounds right. Something like that. Neighbors estimated the gang consisted between 6 and 10 men, described how they had seen van loads of soil being removed daily, but understood this to be a normal activity of the business because it's a landscaping company.
Nice. Oh, yeah, I bet they were selling that dirt too.
The tunnel being roughly 2.3 feet square and running 4 meters 13 feet beneath the surface was well constructed, was lined with wood and plastic, and had its own lighting and air conditioning. On the final weekend, the gang broke through 3.5 feet of steel reinforced concrete to enter the bank vault.
It'd be like a super convenient way to do it too. Like you're going at your own pace. Like no rush.
Yeah, you're like a nice air-conditioned tunnel.
Yeah.
And you're just like, do.
Do you want a mojito? I'd love a mojito.
Hey, Tom, what you doing? Robbing a bank.
Never gonna catch me. Why are you down here in your underwear? I always wanted to rob a bank in my underwear.
Let's see. On August 10th, 2 men were arrested driving a car carrying truck near more than 2.13 million were recovered in 3 pickup trucks being transported. 5 men were arrested with some of the money and told the police they had helped dig the tunnel. 18 suspects remain at large.
Oh, wow.
Prosecutors have said the group tried unsuccessfully to charter a small plane days before the robbery to escape and move the money out of the country. So, and then there's some other stuff that some other stuff here related to the robbery. Person linked to a former security guard involved in the burglary was arrested with cash on him. And 3 more suspects were arrested. A lot of people found dead in the jungle.
That's what I was saying. Like a lot of that stuff, like any crime, like I always instantly think of like Sons of Anarchy, where it just seems like nothing's going to end well. Because what is it like? One person can keep a secret, or 2 people can keep a secret if one of them's dead.
Yeah. The Knightsbridge security deposit robbery. This took place in 1987 in July. The robbery was led by Valerio Vici, a lawyer's son who arrived in London from his native Italy, where he was already wanted for 50 armed robberies.
Oh, damn.
He's like, I just got to get away. Need a holiday.
Well, that's like the Johnny Depp movie, the cocaine movie. Hello.
Once in London, he quickly resumed his robbery career to fund his playboy lifestyle. On this occasion, he secured inside help, obtaining the help of the managing director of the center, a cocaine user who was heavily in debt. Well, it's 1986. Like, oh, wow, he found a cocaine user in 1986.
Oh, where was he? Miami?
Where was he? Everywhere. On the day of the robbery, the two men entered the Knightsbridge Safe Deposit Center and requested to rent a safe deposit box. After being shown into the vault, they drew handguns, subdued the manager and security guards. They hung up a sign on the street level door explaining that they were temporarily closed. They broke open many of the boxes and left with a hoard estimating to be the equivalent of $98 million.
Ooh, damn. It's a good chunk of change.
Right?
That's
two guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about $50 million apiece.
1 hour after the robbers departed, the shift changed and new staff discovered the crime and alerted police. They discovered a bloody fingerprint, and after surveillance, several of his accomplices were arrested during a series of coordinated raids in August of 1987 and later were convicted of the crime. Vici, however, fled to Latin America for some time. Later, when he returned to England to retrieve and ship his Ferrari Testarossa, police arrested him by blocking the road and smashing the front windscreen of his car and dragging him out.
It's like, how does somebody afford a car like that? He's like, I'm a barista.
He was sentenced to 22 years, serving his sentence in Parkhurst Prison. While serving his sentence, he forged a friendship with the officer who led his arrest. They regularly wrote letters to each other, referring to themselves as Fred and Garfield or the Wolf. In 1992, he was deported to Italy and was incarcerated in an open jail in Pescara, where he was allowed to live a lifestyle he was already accustomed to, as well as running a translation company.
What's an open prison? Is that just like house arrest?
I think so, or kind of like minimum security. On April 9th, on the 19th of April in the year 2000, during day release from prison, a gunfight broke out between Vici, an accomplice, and the police, and resulted in his death.
You know what this sounds like me to Richard is that he had a little honeypot somewhere that him and the cop were going to split. And once the cop found it, took him out. That's the movie. That's the movie, one of these.
Yeah. This is number 2 and number 1. All right, Shawn. So number 2, they take place in kind of the same area. So there's that. Also, the details on them seem kind of sketchy. Like there isn't a lot of detail.
Okay.
So the second one is the Dar es Salaam bank heist. To this day, few details are known about the 2007 robbery of the Dar es Salaam Bank, a private financial institution in Baghdad. Allegedly, the theft was orchestrated by several bank guards. The government suspected the robbers also had contacts within local police and militias that allowed them to pass through the many checkpoints across Baghdad undetected. This is in 2007. Not exactly sure how many people there were, but the estimated amount is $282 million.
Ooh, just over $250 million.
Yeah. Which makes you wonder, like, okay, let's say you're a security guard at a bank and all the security guards get together and they're having a drink one night. And then you're like, you know what? What if we all just rob the bank? Like there's 14 of us. We have the keys.
Yeah, I think the problem though is you kind of become like suspect number one. Like, what happened? Well, the cameras went off, and then the doors just unlocked with Bob's key fob.
Yeah, but think about it. Like, if you're all in on it together, then what's it matter? Be like, well, we found your fingerprints. Be like, yeah, I work there.
Yeah, you'd have to time it to where like there's a bank robbery, but like you get knocked out, but you work with the people that are doing it.
Yeah, I feel like you're gonna, if you're the security guard, I feel like you're automatically a suspect.
Oh, I guarantee it. Yeah,
even if you didn't do it, I feel like either one. If you're a security guard at a bank and the bank gets robbed, either one of two things happens: either A, you get killed, or B, you are suspect number one.
Well, and then there's C, you get fired because like, why didn't you save the money? No, it'd be like
you're like, man, I should have helped.
Well, I feel like
now I'm sitting here with no job, and the police think I robbed the place, and they want to send me to prison, and I ain't even get anything.
I feel like you have to do like Scream in reverse, where it's like, all right, stab me, bro.
You're Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, I feel a little woozy.
Okay, Shawn, we're wrapping this up. We're at number one. This is another bank, also in Baghdad, and you will actually be familiar with the mastermind behind this robbery. This is in 2003.
Matt Damon.
The amount, $920 million.
Dang.
The mastermind behind the armed robbery, or the Central Bank of Iraq robbery. The mastermind was Saddam Hussein.
What year was this?
2003. One day before the Iraq War began in 2003, he sent 3 large trucks to the central bank and sent his son with a handwritten note asking to withdraw nearly $1 billion to keep it from enemy hands. The money was loaded into vans and driven away.
Yeah, makes sense. So they can...
Most of the cash was recovered in ensuing raids, but tasked with counting the illicit loot, American soldiers have made off with hundreds of thousands of dollars for themselves and their families. 35 service members in total have been caught.
Yeah, I remember talking like when they got to like his palaces and stuff, like just the boatloads of cash that was just there. Like in that, like that was $900 billion of like US dollars just sitting in his bank over there. 900 million. Isn't that crazy just to think about that? Like just that much like American cash sitting in their bank.
Yeah. Just like in like a big pile.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that would look like.
Just like pallets.
Like the closest thing I can think is there was a scene in Breaking Bad towards the end of the series where he walks into the storage room or the storage shed, and there's just this pile of money, like all neatly stacked, but it's just like it's like a pallet. It's like a wood pallet with just, you know, a good 2 feet of cash on top of it.
Yeah. Like I'd be worried like my house would catch on fire. Like, you know, because you always hear the stories of like the older people putting the money in their, you know, mattress to save it in case of, you know, a depression or something.
Well, I always hear stories about like people that keep large sums of cash like stuffed somewhere, but like eventually the cash like dries out and rots.
Oh, really?
And crumbles into nothing.
I've heard about like coffee cans in yards.
You have to like keep it. You have to basically like keep it clean in a way.
It makes sense. I mean, if any moisture and stuff gets to it, it's just like any kind of other paper.
So whenever you smell mothballs, you're like, hey, maybe there's a roll of hundreds in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, this is an older house. Maybe that dude was a hoarder too. So we found out that the guy that lived in this house was a hoarder, and his kids that lived here after were swingers. So we'll see what we find.
Just a pile of hotel room keys.
Yeah. Yeah.
stuffed on the wall.
I think somebody had a good time. Well, Richard, we're not going to rob banks. One, I don't think we're smart enough. And two, I don't think I'd do well in prison. So I want to know what's your Richard's closing thoughts?
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. You would do terrible in prison.
I'd either do terrible or I'd do
Shawn,
really, really well.
I'd thrive.
You do have a better mouth than me. You probably would. They're like, no, this is an open air prison. You don't have to do that. No, it's fine. It's fine. Oh,
no, I understand. I knew what I signed up for. I'm doing it for my family. So yeah, that's. I mean, oh God, how do you? So to wrap this up, I would say cops can be smart. So if you're going to rob a bank, you gotta be smarter. Hey, and you know what? Some of these people didn't get caught.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a chance you could make it.
I think the lesson is if you're getting away with it and you got some stack of bills, throw away the thing that keeps it on there, the bill wrap.
That's right.
Don't keep the
hold
original.
on to your dreams, but don't hold on to the currency bands.
There you go. Like it. All right. Well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website, we're languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. And we'd like to thank our two accomplices, our alibis, Wendy and Aaron.
I swear to God, if either one of you rat us out, I will find you. I'll find both of you.
All right. Was there anything else before I close her out?
No, we're good.
All right. Well, that's all the bros have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why. Unless it's going to be rob a bank. Be a why not.
Not. Let's rob a bank. Why not, right?
I don't know.
I mean, YOLO.